Hello people, let's run through my watch list for next week. We start on the DXY on the weekly time frame, and we had a fairly strong bullish weekly close last week, and we are now approaching the upper bound of this overall range we were discussing a few times already. Going down to the forward time frame, we can see here that at least this major value area here is in reach. We do have some more areas here to the left, and also a major swing low here from last year, which is somewhere in reach for price in the coming days. I'm now looking for price to form a continuation structure here, preferably retesting this low here in form of a bullish continuation to then finish the run into the next major highs here. On euro US dollar, that means we are looking for shorts. Going straight down to the 1 hour time frame, it's fairly straightforward. We had this sell-off here, structured sell-off. We are now trading below these lows here to the left and basically trading through, and I'm now looking for a price to form a bear flag, a structured bear flag, to then enter a short to continue. Australian dollar, US dollar is actually a trade I took last week here on the forward time frame. Let's discuss that shortly. It's a higher risk trade, but what sold me on the trade was, first we had this failed structure here, this failed bear flag structure. We still have a gap here to the low to fill. We then came up into this liquidity area and had an initial reaction. So we had first a nice bearish high test, which then got filled. So we basically had a weak fill with full price action and then a reversal. Even though this candle is a bit weak, the overall sentiment made sense, and I set the limit order here. I'm still in this trade. I hold it over the weekend, and I'm now looking for a scale in. I'm on break even, so whatever happens, it's good with me. And the reason why price does not have to go back up into these areas is because this is basically a finished V-shape after the first initial bear flag continuation here, and that's actually the liquidity area, this liquidity point, which was the source, the start of this more aggressive sell-off. And so therefore, overall, it made sense from positioning in terms of this as a kind of M-style recovery to then further sell off. And I'm now looking here on the 1 hour time frame for a structured bear flag continuation. We have here a level to work with, and if we get something like that into this area, to then scale in the trade. A pound US dollar on the daily time frame is conflicting, but we are in decision area. We do have here, we can see here we had this 1, 2, 3 structure expanding into this area. Then we had an initial reaction, but then failed to continue to the downside. Instead, we came back up, but we also failed then again to make a double top. Double tops usually are more like a V-shaped recovery, and then we are higher, or at least reach the previous high. We did not do that. We left the gap here. Instead, we came back down, and we are now here on the level of a 1, 2, 3. So that's a potential bullish structure, a higher time frame structure. So therefore, we are now looking what price shows us here, if it's either a bear flag continuation or a bearish continuation or a bullish reversal. So I'm looking now here on the, let's go down to the 1 hour time frame. We want to see very clear price action confirmation. So we want to see at least a strong break back in, followed by a continuation here for a bullish entry, or then price taking some time forming a middle section and a larger, more flatter bearish continuation. If we get a deliberate structure like that, then we know we are more likely to continue to the downside. And as a third option, let me clean that up shortly. A third option would be price is just breaking out or continuing to fall and breaking completely out of the larger structure, followed by a bearish continuation. Then that would be even better. It would confirm the bearish sentiment even more. US dollar yen for me is a long. We start here on the 4 hour time frame shortly, just to see why we discussed that a few times as well. So we had this overall here, this 1, 2, 3 into this high here to the left. We then had an initial reaction. We then again failed to continue here to the downside. Instead, we came back up in form of a V shape, had an initial reaction, but then failed to continue to the downside again. So we had multiple chances for price to break down and continue sell-off, and none of that really happened. So we had instead a fairly strong breakout, and we are now forming a potential bull flag continuation, and that's what I'm looking for here on the 1 hour time frame. We do have here a very, very small, a weak liquidity area here, only visible on the lower time frame. So it's very weak. We left a small gap to it, but it would be enough if I get a nice, obvious reversal pattern here. I would entertain a long continuation here, because even to the next inflection point, or like the next area of interest here to the left, when we look at this area here, we have enough room to manage a long trade here, even if we then turn around in this area. Euro Australian dollar is a short continuation for me. We are here on the forward time frame, and we can see here we reached almost the low, but we left a small gap. So it would make sense for price to accumulate a bit more volume in this area before we then continue to the downside. And that's what I'm looking for. I'd like to see price tapping this liquidity area here to the left, followed by lower time frame continuation to enter a short. And the same goes for Euro Canadian. We have here a bit more price action to work with. We have here a potential 1, 2, 3 for a bullish continuation, which failed obviously here. And I'm now looking for a bearish continuation, preferably retesting, or actually forming a proper bear flag, structured bear flag here to then enter a short on the higher time frame, like a forward time frame. And on the other hand, if we just break out on early next week, Monday or Tuesday, and we see prices just gaining more momentum and dropping out of this whole piece of price action, followed by a lower time frame continuation, that would also be completely okay and would even more confirm the overall higher time frame bull flag structure. So bull flag structure failed. That's more likely then. Pound Australian dollar and pound Canadian are also very similar. On the forward time frame, we can see here we are positioned for a short. We have here to the left, we have nothing really to worry. And we had this very long corrective price action here, and then finally gained some bearish momentum. And we are now looking for price to accumulate more volume for a short continuation. The same goes for pound Canadian. We are positioned a little bit better in terms of structure. We do have here on the forward time frame, we had this 1, 2, 3, which we then finished with the 1, 2, 3 internal. We now we had the first initial impulse, a correction, another impulse, and we are now waiting for a slightly larger correction here to then continue to the downside. Australian dollar yen, this is more a long for me. Here on the forward time frame, we discussed that a few times. Basically, let's just start here. We had this high after this gap the week before, and then we had an aggressive sell-off, closed the gap basically, and had an impulsive reaction here to the upside again. If this would just be a standard V-shape or double top, we would expect a bit more impulsive reaction here on the high. So we would expect more bearish pressure followed by continuation to then sell off. If it's just a standard sequence for a double top, instead we get corrective price action, which gives me more vibes for a long continuation, and therefore I'm looking here more for a bullish flag, preferably for price to come back into these areas here, this a smaller continuation here to then this would be enough volume to then drive price higher up. And New Zealand dollar yen, overall, I still have a long bias, but we are positioned here for a short-term short. We have here a potential first base, a second section, and I'm now looking for price to finish this smaller bearish continuation into the low to then see some reaction here. If I get a structured bear flag in this area here, I would entertain a short, because this is enough room to manage the trade to the low. And if then price just breaks out and continues to the downside, then we are already in, even better. And if we have a reaction here, I would change my bias from a short into a long. And if I don't get this short entry here, my bias still remains for overall long trade. So that's it. That's my watch list for next week. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye bye.